welche Unreal Engine? Da wäre ich jetzt schon mal gespannt gewesen. Auf jeden Fall hallo und herzlich willkommen. So, wir haben die Auflösung so eingestellt. Wo ist die Maus? Hallo, Maus? Das ist mir beim ersten Mal gar nicht aufgefallen. Ich kann die Schwierigkeit gar nicht verstehen. Aha. Use Subtitles, Quest Error, Customize Controls. Use Gamepad. Nein, das hat nicht geklappt. Nein, ich will nicht mit Gamepad spielen. So, jetzt habe ich die Maus. Also, jetzt müssen wir noch schnell schauen. Graphic Options. Das Oversampling ist ja nett, aber es macht keinen Sinn. Wie viel können wir den Filter hochschrauben? Und die Aliasing on. Ja. Gut, das schaut auch nicht schlecht aus. Ja, geklappt. Okay. Jetzt Maus. Wir haben die richtige Auflösung. Dann lasst uns sehen. Ach, also das noch einstellen. Adjust the brightness slider until the dark gray box is just barely visible. Okay. Obwohl, wartet mal. Ich stelle es etwas heller ein, weil ich weiß, dass bei der Komprimierung oft die Helligkeit etwas verloren geht. Ich bin jetzt im Überlegen, ich habe es beim ersten Mal F-Medium gespielt. Noch die erste Version, nicht das Remasterte. Aber da habe ich auch noch nicht so viel Übung mit Ego-Shootern gehabt. Ich probiere jetzt mal hart. Ich glaube, man kann ja sowieso umstellen. Und wir haben ein echtes Problem, das ich nicht lösen kann außerhalb von diesem Stream, weil Thunder would like to watch your broadcast. Woher weiß Steam, dass ich streame, wenn ich OBS zum Streamen benutze?
They told me. Son, you're special. You were born to do great things. You know what? They were right.
Die Szene zu sehen, muss man 3 Spiele und 2 DLCs warten, wie sie sich wirklich zugetragen hat. Der Rest wurde nach schwarz ausgeblendet wurde. Und ich hab noch nicht gekauft, weil er immer so teuer ist. Jetzt muss ich mal zusehen. Man kann was erst hin, man kann watch other players and podcast your own games. Ich kann nicht zweimal auf einen. Das Wasser war schon in der Fantastisch. In der normalen Version. Explosion, so wird man zum Türmchen geleitet. Immer ein Leuchtturm, ein Mann. Und, wie wir gleich sehen werden, eine Stadt. No gods or kings, only men. Also Könige, keine Männer wären. Und dieser Mann, der da, dessen Statue wir hier sehen, hat definitiv das Prinzip von Königen nicht verstanden. Jetzt noch sonst die große Kette. Musik. Fantastisch, du. Das ist mir beim ersten Mal alles nicht aufgefallen. Die Dings hier, die sind mir aufgefallen. Kunst, Wirtschaft und da drüben Wissenschaft. Was haben wir hier noch? Ach, das ist einfach nur Ryan Industries. Was ich ja eigentlich gar nicht weiß. Ja, das Intro, da kommt mir jetzt schon die Gänsehaut. Vor allem jetzt mal in wirklich viel bessere Qualität.
I am Andrew Ryan, and I'm here to ask you a question. Is a man not entitled to the sweat of his brow? No, says the man in Washington, it belongs to the poor. No, says the man in the Vatican, it belongs to God. No, says the man in Moscow, it belongs to everyone. I rejected those answers. Instead, I chose something different. I chose the impossible. I chose
Rapture.
A city where the artist would not fear the censor, where the scientist would not be bound by petty morality, where the great would not be constrained by the small. And with the sweat of your brow, Rapture can become your city as well.
Also ich muss umschalten mit rechts an der Maustaste zwischen Klassenliegen und was.
One more minute. Spear's coming up now. Johnny, security's banging off all over. Get a move on.
Is it someone new?
Would you kindly pick up that shortwave radio?
I don't know how you survived that plane crash, but I've never been one to question Providence. I'm Atlas, and I aim to keep you alive. Now keep on moving. We're gonna have to get you to higher ground. Take a deep breath and step out of the bathysphere. I won't leave you twisting in the wind. We're gonna need to draw her out of hiding, but you're gonna have to trust me.
Ich sehe was ihr nicht seht, und das ist ein Problem. Gut, vielleicht könnt ihr es sehen. Ja, deutlich besser. Wieso willst du, dass ich aufstehe? Ach, ich dachte überhaupt so, ne? Oh.
Just a bit further. How do you like that, mister? Now, would you kindly find a crowbar or something? Bloody splicer, seal Johnny in before they... Goddamn splicers.
Ja, da liegt einer. Danke. Was liegt da? Wer hustet? Johnny?
I can control myself. I can.
My daddy's smarter than Einstein, stronger than Hercules, and like a fire with a snap of his finger. Are you as good as my daddy, mister? Not
Then
so
hört
good
das
as
F
a
to do.
gatherer's garden, you aren't. Smart daddies get sliced at the garden.
Ah, da hätte ich auch noch was zum Heilen. Nummer M. Tasty bar will replenish small amounts of health relief. Like all food and drink, it's consumed immediately when picked up. Also ich kann es nicht aufbewahren. Ja. Da hätte ich mir vermutlich den Health Pack sparen können. Rapture, November 5, 1946. Da musste ich jetzt ausprobieren, wa? Sollte mir Atlas jetzt nicht irgendwas erzählen?
My daddy's
Na gut, ich
smarter
bin...
than Einstein, stronger than Hercules, and lights a fire with a snap of his finger. Are you as good as my daddy, mister? Not if you don't visit the Gatherer's Garden, you aren't. Smart daddies get sliced at the garden.
Elektroball, hau ab. Eigentlich hatte ich erwartet. Couch ich vielleicht nicht. Das kann ich jetzt einstellen. Warte mal. Was ist gemacht? Die Umschalttaste. Ich weiß, dass ich die Plasmide nehmen muss, aber ich warte drauf eigentlich. Dass mir das der gute alte Atlas erzählt.
Steady now. Your genetic code is being rewritten. Just hold on and everything will be fine.
Aua.
This little fish looks like he just had his cherry popped. Wonder if he's still got some Adam on him. Let's buck. Weak! You're a weak chopper. This little fish ain't worth towing it with no big daddy. Yellow! Always have been. You'll be no better off with a metal daddy, little fish. See you floating, Mikey.
Look, Mr. Bubbles, it's an angel. I can see light coming from his belly. Wait a minute, he's still breathing. It's all right. I know he'll be an angel soon.
You alright, boyo? First time plasma's a real kick from a mule. But there's nothing like a fistful of lightning now, is there?
Was ist damit? Ich habe das Gefühl, mir fehlt's an. Ach, guck an, der ist tot. Kammer. Was ist das da? Ah, eine tote Katze.
Splicer! Give him the combo. Zap him, then whack him. 1-2 punch. Remember, the 1-2 punch!
Ist das Fleißig?
Fuck! Don't run! We were just getting started! Hey!
Oder nicht noch was zuerst? Ach, die Flasche Wein. Health gained. Eve lost from drinking. Okay. Ich hatte ja sowieso kein Eve mehr.
That's what the book said. Dress nice, smile, and be yourself. That's what I do. I just wanted some company!
Ist noch nicht unbedingt so draußen. Wie benutze ich das Herzkit? F und I.
Tell Ryan I'm sorry. No, I won't do it again. No.
So stuck up she is. I
I'll
found her that
show
way!
her what happens to them stuck-up types.
Was? Puh.
A trip to fresh air? Then save up to see Steinman? The ladies will be knocking at my door.
Steinman?
You're the color, you're the little beauty.
Wo? Da, ich bin.
He's supposed to look out for
splicers have cut me off from them. If you can reach them in Neptune's bounty, then maybe, just maybe... I know you must feel like the unluckiest man in the world right now, but you're the only hope I'll ever see my wife and child again. Go to Neptune's bounty. Find my family, please.
Unmöglich zu stylen. You go.
You are the only one. No one will be there to sing this song. Hush. Mom's gone. And Daddy too. Wait. This is happening before and none. Why aren't you here? Why is it today and not then when you were warm and sweet? Why can't Mommy hold you to her breast and feel your teeth? Oh, no. No, no, no.
Erlösen wir sie von ihr.
Plasma's changed everything. They destroyed our bodies, our minds. We couldn't handle it. Best friends butchering one another. Babies strangled in cribs. The whole city went to hell.
Komische Geräusche. Ah, das wollte ich mir noch ansehen. Health and Eve gains from etwas. Das ist bekannt, was ist Frank von Masken. Nichts in der Theke. Okay, verschimmelt. Brauchen wir nicht. Kann ich nicht mehr, kann ich auch nicht mehr lösen. Achso. Ah, da ist ein Typ. Kann man hier eigentlich auch speichern? Ah ja, safe. Anderes Einfluss. Nicht als ja.
Yo, open up!
Darling, if this isn't love,
Flash time.
then why do I thrill so much? And
Brenda!
what is it that makes my head go round and round?
Too spliced up. I'm too spliced up. Nobody's gonna want me.
Yo, open up! Flash time.
Wo im Bett?
Brenda, you care to tell me why you've had a hole in the wall the size of Plymouth Rock coming out of your crapper going on 3 weeks now? Now, I ain't saying I'm Shakespeare. I'm trying to run a respectable theater. I got working folk coming in from Port Neptune trying to catch a little diversion. And all they can think about is the stink coming out of your shitter. Get it fixed.
Eindeutig zu viel gebraucht. Ja?
You open up! Flash time!
Okay, jetzt kann man. Doch, Moment, können wir.
Careful now. Would you kindly lower that weapon for a minute?
Flash time!
You think that's a child down there? Don't be fooled.
Nee.
She's a little sister now. Somebody went and turned a sweet baby girl into a monster. Whatever you thought about right and wrong on the surface, well, that don't count for much down in Rapture. Those little sisters, they carry Adam, the genetic material that keeps the wheels of Rapture turning. Everybody wants it, everybody needs it.
You open up! Flash time!
Also könnte ich vielleicht 2 Revolver brauchen. Broken Vending Machine. Steht das kaputt? Press P to save your game. Okay. Wenn du das sagst, dann machen wir das auch. Wir können auch ein New Save machen. Ja, von der Rückkehr gekommen. Hä? Da liegt ja noch ein Toter. Gut. Das, was ich wirklich wollte. Ach so, ja, das war der Tote, den die Kleine ausgebeutet hat. Director's Commentary. Golden Film Reels. He unlocked an episode of the Director's Commentary. Play now or view it later from the main menu. Spoiler warning, the commentary contains in-depth discussion of plot details, including the ending. First-time players may wish to complete the game before viewing. Wir sind keine...
Hey, I'm Jeff Keighley here in Boston to go behind the scenes to hear some untold stories about the making of Bioshock with Ken Levine and Sean Robertson. Let's talk a bit about the theme and setting of Bioshock Rapture. And I think a lot of people, when they played the game for the first time, Ken, they wondered, how did you even dream up this place? And I know you've said publicly before that part of the reason you sort of, what led you to Rapture was this idea of fully simulating a place. Tell us about that sort of idea and the frustrations you had with other games where you sort of hit a bound.
I think our philosophy was always to do what we were doing 100% rather than try to do something bigger and do it 50% or 40%. So one of the ideas of, and this sort of came from System Shock 2 as well, where you focus on an area that you can really bring to life and you kind of eliminate the questions of, well, why can't I go over the bridge to New Jersey? So we were able to really make a place, I think, that felt believable and real, even though in actuality it was really quite limited. But we just sort of dressed it with all these buildings outside that were all, were all basically glorified fakes. We let the story drive what we needed to show rather than some kind of like predetermined map which we set down, which is a little different than like System Shock 2, where we actually mapped a spaceship out deck by deck. Yeah. Because I don't know what the philosophy felt a little different there, because you want to feel like a real spaceship that was sort of stacked on top of each other. Rapture was free to sprawl across the ocean floor.
Although you guys originally, Sean, were talking about doing this game on a sort of spaceship again, right?
Yeah, when we first started talking about what the spiritual successor to System Shock 2 was going to be, Spaceship came up, but again, we wanted a limited environment, and we didn't necessarily want to do Spaceship again. And our first actual exploration of this space was underwater, but ultimately ended up looking like a spaceship. It just happened to have a couple of seaweed fronds outside. And that started to push us towards what artistic statement that we wanted to make this look different, and what rules we were going to set for the world. How at every turn we were going to try to remind the player that they were in fact underwater and that this wasn't a spaceship.
And how, like, underwater, we obviously know you did underwater, then sitting in the sky, like where did you come with the idea of like doing this underwater?
I think there was probably a conversation. It's like, well, what kind of places could be cut off from other places? Yeah. Like, well, spaceship, summer camp, any island notion, right? Something that's cut off from the rest of the world. Yeah. So you never felt like you should be able to go over that bridge to New Jersey.
I don't want to apply some deep and meaningful conversation. I think it was one of those ideas that you just kind of say, and then everybody's, that sounds cool. Let's try that. Let's go for it.
And I think it lended itself to having very nice views out the window without having to build an insane amount of unique assets.
Right. By today's standards, we still were a small team back then. And there's an expectation that because you're underwater, the view distances are going to be short, so you can really kind of fade out into the fog at a short distance and not have the expectation that, why can't I see forever? So there's a lot of limitations in a good way that we put on ourselves by being underwater, as opposed to, like, if you're on a cruise ship, then you'd expect to see across the water, and we'd have to deal with that. Same thing with an island.
Or a city in the sky.
Yeah, exactly.
Which was a lot more complicated, yeah.
So you came up with the idea of, let's do this underwater, let's do this sort of isolated place. Then you had to answer the question of, why would someone build this? Is that sort of how it worked, sort of order of operations? You then had to come up with a story to explain?
Yeah, I think we wanted a very believable reason why they'd be there. Right. And sort of the necessary isolation of the place sort of led to, well, what kind of person would want to do this? And I wasn't even particularly aware of the sort of political implications of what I was reading, but I'd been reading, I had read The Fountainhead. Right. By Ayn Rand, and I mostly thought it was an interesting story. Like, I didn't realize that people were sort of basing their sort of political lives around it, because I wasn't that tuned in to that stuff at that point. And so, but I love the dialogue and the kind of speechifying in it, because you can see a video game character speaking with that kind of certainty and that kind of confident philosophy. It just seemed like a natural kind of thing to apply to this place. And so it just sort of all came together as a sort of who is the guy who would do this? Well, you know, that character. He was sort of this amalgamation of characters from Ayn Rand's books and from Ayn Rand herself. This sort of idealistic person who says, well, the only way to do this is to separate from the rest of the world. And that led to Andrew Ryan.
I am Andrew Ryan, and I'm here to ask you a question. Is a man not entitled to the sweat of his brow? No, says the man in Washington, it belongs to the poor. No, says the man in the Vatican, it belongs to God. No, says the man in Moscow, it belongs to everyone.
We knew from a technical standpoint that we wanted isolation. We also knew to sell it, we needed a compelling storyline, a backstory that why would this place exist? Otherwise, how are we going to make Rapture feel like it's lived in if we don't have the reason for it to be there? So once we decided on the underwater location and then the closed off spaces, that objectivist story kind of came in and made the art stronger and made the level design stronger because we could feed back into that loop.
And I think that's why we had to have sort of Andrew Ryan's pitch right at the beginning of the game. We wanted people to understand why somebody would go there. And so he makes this very personal one-to-one pitch to the gamer, but also that was the pitch you make to people, which was, you know, there's a place that you can be free of all these things, where you could not be sort of put upon by the government and not be afraid of nuclear war and not be afraid of all these other things that will plague you on the surface. We wanted that pitch to sort of resonate and make sense, because that's, otherwise by the time you got there you'd be like, well, this place is just fantasy, nobody would ever come here. And that the beauty of the place also was also tied into that. It had to be a very attractive proposition, or people who would believe that people would go leave their lives and go to the bottom of the ocean.
I'm sure in some ways you had to convince the team and enroll them in your sort of vision of, you know, who this character was going to be and what the setting was going to be. How did that work, Sean? I mean, did Ken come in and say, hey, I've been reading these books, and I think we could sort of...
I believe he just came in one day on a horse and said, Ayn Rand, everybody read The Fountainhead.
Exactly. I bought 30 copies of
Yeah, I think, you know...
Here's a 2,000-page book or something.
Yeah.
Go read it.
And it really is more organic. You know, like I said, we knew that we had this location, and you struggle to fill it with stories, and you struggle to find meaning of why does this place exist? You know, what's my motivation? And as Ken started to explore Ayn Rand a little more and started talking to us about it, and we were having that conversation, and it's like, oh, this could totally work. Like, this is exciting. Like, this is something that really hasn't been done in a video game before. And if we had flipped it and come up with the idea first before the location, I don't think we would have really been that excited about it. But we had a location, and now we're trying to fill it with that story, and because of the order of operation there, you start to get
Als sie auf
excited,
die Idee
like,
gekommen sind mit Rapture, bevor sie auf Geldgehalt gestoßen
You know, as you think of sort of the, you know, the setting, and you think of maybe a character or something, was there a moment that you think back, it's like, oh, like right then and there, like I got excited when you attached the Ayn Rand
For me,
stuff
it was going to Rockefeller Center and seeing the visual. So I told this story before, but my wife and I were in New York, and we went to Rockefeller Center, which was, if you go to Rockefeller Center, it basically looks exactly like Rapture. It's because every building, you're sort of encircled. It's this block in New York, or a couple of blocks in New York, where Radio City Music Hall is, and where 30 Rockefeller Plazas, where you see that show 30 Rock, and the ice skating rink, and where they put the Christmas tree, and it's this very iconic location. But what's cool about it, it's all one, unlike the rest of the city. Everywhere you look, it's one architectural style. It's Art Deco, and it's very iconic Art Deco. And my wife and I were there, and we were sort of working on the game, and we didn't have a visual style. And all of a sudden, I started looking around, and I said, "Oh, this could be a visual for the game." Also, the geometry of it was actually quite conducive to making a video game, because it wasn't overly complicated geometry. Art Deco is quite
bold and simple,
geometric, and simple. And so my wife and I bought a couple of tourist cameras before iPhone cameras,
exactly.
You know.
Throwaway cameras,
Yeah, throwaway cameras with little Kodak things, and we just started photographing doorknobs and light fixtures, and just sort of developed the photos. Remember that? Brought them in and said,
"Come to the office. Here's a stack of stuff.
Here's a stack of photos.
Take a look.
I'll see you guys in a couple of years. Go make this."
the artist would not fear the censor, where the scientist would not be bound by petty morality, where the great would not be constrained by the small. And with the sweat of your brow, Rapture can become your city as well.
So you had kind of a theme, you came up with an art style, some of the iconic characters, and then, you really had to build the narrative around it. And you've talked about, a lot of the themes in the game and, greed, jealousy, sex, violence, all the things that sort of, drive us or what destroy us. And that was something I think that, as you thought about the story of the game, you wanted to, I'm sure, reflect some of those, right? Because I think people love the characters, it's sort of flawed in a way, and this is a world which is its own little microcosm, but had a lot of tension inside of it.
Yeah, I mean, the character of Ryan was sort of, he's basically invisible through most of the game, right? Except for a very small portion. But he's very present because he exists, the city is him, right? It's such a representation of him. We never want to cut away to a cutscene where you saw Andrew Ryan, planning and scheming. We wanted him to be very present without actually being present. But once you had Ryan, and once you had his desire to protect this vision of his, you just had to then come up with the characters who'd be arrayed in opposition to him. So we had this character, the Big Daddy, and then eventually the character of the Little Sister. And so characters like Tenenbaum came along, like, here's a person who's in opposition to him for this reason. And then you have, for more noble reasons. And then you have a character like Atlas, who's much more cynical opposition. Once we had all those characters arrayed, we're like, well, who are you? And, you ended up being a sort of, a pawn in the middle of all this opposition to Ryan. We just kept sort of homing in on that theme and making sure that you weren't, eventually figuring out that you couldn't just be here by an accident, that you're an integral part of this story, even though you don't know you're an integral part of this story. You think you're just there by happenstance.
Look, Mr. Bubbles, it's an angel. I can see light coming from his belly. Wait a minute, he's still breathing. It's all right. I know he'll be an angel soon.
Wir sind zurück. Aber ich denke, ich mache jetzt eine Pause. Also einen kurzen Unterbruch, so 5 Minuten, damit das Gameplay in der nächsten Folge in der Aufzeichnung dann weitergeht. Deshalb erstmal schnell Save. Override Save gehen. Und dann sage ich erstmal Tschüss und bis bald für die diese Aufzeichnung sehen.